Welcome to our conversation on Disability X and the concept of super autism, where voices often silenced break through.
I'm excited to dive into this. It's such a powerful shift in how we understand autism and support needs.
Absolutely. Let's kick off with the idea that super autism isn't a new medical diagnosis or a neat label. It's a lens to understand sensory intensity and high resolution nervous system response. It just
Yep.
reframes the conversation.
So it's like saying the reactions some autistic people experience are not behavior problems, but actual physiological responses, right?
Right, exactly. It's about understanding that these intense reactions, be it sound, light, almost everything around, are more about biology than attitude.
And that reframe challenges the typical narrative where distress is quickly labeled as defiance or non-compliance.
Yeah. Instead of seeing someone trying to escape overwhelming sensory input as being oppositional, the idea is to ask, what is driving this intense response, rather than simply
Hmm.
punishing what appears to be misbehavior.
That shift in perspective is crucial, but I do wonder if some might argue that this term could be misinterpreted as a kind of superpower narrative.
Sure, and that's a common misreading. It's not about romanticizing or glamorizing autism. It's
Right.
about acknowledging that for some, the nervous system works at such a heightened level that everyday stimuli can become overwhelming.
So, if I understand correctly, super autism emphasizes intensity, recognizing the cumulative effects of sensory overload and stress rather than just categorizing behaviors as defiant.
Exactly. It's like saying that when a person is reacting strongly, it's the environment and accumulated pressures that matter, not simply the momentary action that others may misread.
And on that note, conversation often turns to how traditional frameworks misinterpret distress. Systems tend to push simplified, tidy categories like compliance versus defiance, correct?
Yes, that's right. Systems want quick, standardized explanations, a neat box to stamp on behavior rather than digging into what's really going on physiologically or emotionally. This leads to a lot of
Mm.
harmful assumptions.
It's almost as if once distress is chalked up as defiance, the real issues like pain, sensory overload, or even autonomic chaos are conveniently ignored.
Exactly. And that's one of the tragic aspects. Instead of designing support systems around actual causes, the approach becomes all about control.
That's a major pitfall. Instead of providing regulation and understanding, the focus shifts to stopping the behavior, like putting a bandage on a broken leg.
Right. And it's like, when you call it behavior, it becomes this bucket where everything gets dumped: overload, pain, even medical issues and trauma responses. And then the
Yeah.
supports are misaligned, aiming to stop behavior instead of addressing the root causes.
I can see how that undermines the person's need for support. But don't you think there might be a risk that focusing on intensity could lead some to underplay the strengths that sometimes accompany heightened sensitivity?
That's a good point. But the framework here, super autism, is not about like labeling it as better or special in any glittery superpower way. It's
Right.
merely to spotlight that this intensity is real and demands meaningful support, not just a pat on the back or a label that dismisses genuine suffering.
Yeah, I get that. It's more about responsibility. Instead of expecting someone to simply behave, the focus is on understanding what is overwhelming them.
Exactly. So when we talk about day to day life under this lens, think of all the small but significant details: a flickering light, an unexpected sound, that buzzing appliance. These are stimuli that many might filter out, but for someone with a high sensitivity nervous system, they register deeply.
Right, which means that what appears as inconsistency, coping one day but not the next, is actually a buildup of cumulative stress that's not immediately obvious to outside observers.
Yes, exactly. It's like trying to gauge the pressure in a slow cooker. One test might not reveal the simmering overload that's building up over time. And once it all converges, the
Um,
reaction can be intense.
and then something critical happens. Communication starts to fail. If a person can't easily put into words what they're feeling, they're misinterpreted and then punished for not conforming to expected communication norms.
Yes, that's spot on. Communication barriers become these gates where instead of getting support, the person is seen as non compliant or even manipulative.
Right.
And that's why Disability X steps in. It's all about changing that narrative.
So, Disability X isn't just another podcast, it's a platform that challenges those traditional restrictive frameworks.
Exactly. It's about shifting from questions like, how do we stop this behavior, to what is really driving this reaction. It's a
Yeah.
fundamentally different way of approaching support.
And with that shift, support is no longer conditional on a person appearing calm. It's about preemptively addressing issues before a crisis emerges.
Yes, support needs to be sensory informed and flexible. It means having predictable routines with the right room for like recovery time and lower demand periods during high stress episodes. It's truly a holistic approach.
Mm. And then there's the matter of skilled, consistent support workers who understand this lens and can tailor responses accordingly.
Right. And adding to that, respect for AAC, pain informed practices, and trauma aware methods are all essential. It's about crafting environments where communication isn't a gate but a bridge.
That's a really critical aspect. I mean, once you start designing with these principles in mind, you're no longer forcing neurotypical templates onto someone who experiences the world so differently.
Exactly. And to me, that's the essence of why this approach exists. It's a commitment to reality over inspiration theater.
Yep.
No one should have their support conditioned on their ability to appear calm when calm should be rather an outcome, not a prerequisite.
It's a powerful reminder that silence doesn't mean the absence of distress. It often means the opposite.
Precisely. And that's why Disability X is such an important platform. It gives voice to those who have been marginalized by systems that rely too heavily on standardized narratives and behavior metrics. It's a space for
Mhm.
community stories, practical insights, and rethinking how supports are designed.
And it opens the door for participants, family members, clinicians, support workers, even researchers to challenge established views and share lived experiences that rarely get airtime.
Yes, exactly. It's a call to not settle for support that punishes distress, but rather one that truly understands and responds to the causative factors. And
Right.
in doing so, it paves the way for better, more humane practices.
While I totally get the point, I do wonder if there's a risk that some supporters might misinterpret this framework to mean less accountability for their actions. But I think the clear message is that accountability goes to how we respond to someone's distress, and that's fundamentally different from blaming the person.
I appreciate that critique, and it's important to clarify. This isn't about excusing any behavior, it's about understanding the underlying factors and ensuring support is about safety and regulation, not
Yeah.
control or punishment. It's really about recalibrating our entire approach.
And that recalibration holds the promise of transforming how communities, clinicians, and support networks respond.
Absolutely. So, to wrap up, our conversation today on Disability X and Super Autism reminds us to reframe our thinking, seeing distress not as a deliberate choice, but as an indicator of overwhelming sensory and emotional experiences that need proper, compassionate support.
Yep. It's a call to action to share this perspective and reshape our understanding of what supportive, effective care should look like in the real world.
Exactly. And if this perspective resonates with you, consider engaging in the conversation, sharing your own stories, or even stepping up to advocate for change. Our voices matter here.
Mhm. Thanks for this deep dive. It really challenges, in a respectful way, how we traditionally view behavior and support.
Thank you, too. It's been a dynamic exchange, and hopefully, it sparks more thoughtful dialogues about ensuring support that truly matches the needs of those experiencing super autism.
Absolutely. Looking forward to more conversations like this that break through the old frameworks and pave a new path for meaningful support.